Well, South Africa's response to pandemics has been strengthened after the Biovac Institute signed a vaccine manufacturing deal with US-based company Immunity Bio. The vaccine, which is currently undergoing trials in the US and South Africa, is a T-cell-based jab that will provide broader protection against emerging variants. This deal will build the Biovac Institute's capability for active pharmaceutical ingredient manufacturing, a first for the company since it was established back in 2015. Let's unpack it for you now. We're joined by the CEO of the Biovac Institute, that's Dr. Morena Makhoana. Dr. Makhoana, thanks very much for your time this morning on the AM Report. I mean, this is what we've been talking about all along, isn't it? The fact that we need to stop relying on other countries to produce our vaccines, resulting in the delays that we've seen in getting the jabs to our shores.
Absolutely, and thank you for having me this morning. It's something that not only South Africa lacks, but the African continent lacks quite a lot as far as vaccines are concerned. So whilst we have the capability to do downstream manufacture, but we really need to build capability, to be able to, have the raw ingredients, start from scratch.
Yeah.
Locally, and that is what the announcement was about.
So, Dr. Makhoana, just take us through our current situation insofar as vaccines are concerned, because we are manufacturing, I believe it's the Johnson & Johnson vaccine in South Africa, but just take us through, you talked about going back to the ingredients even of manufacturing vaccines. Where are we at now, and where do we hope to be?
So, maybe I can put it this way. So firstly, as we know that you can import vaccines, and that's what the Department of Health is negotiating with Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson and others. So that's one way of getting vaccines into the country,
yeah,
with the challenges that you have to be competing with other countries. And then the second way is to manufacture vaccines on what we call the downstream part, and that is typically what we call fill finish, where you would import the raw material in big tanks and fill them into these small vials in a manufacturing facility. So we have that capability, and Aspen Pharmacare have also announced something similar with Johnson & Johnson. So at the moment, the installed capability in the country is one where we could import the raw material and manufacture. What we need to do is to move the needle towards doing it ourselves, manufacturing the raw material ourselves. It takes a few things. It takes know-how. You need to have skills, and those skills are quite specialized. But secondly, you need to have a partner that would be able to share that their ingredients and the know-how, and that is where the intellectual property lies. So part of the limitations with why API capability is not abundant on the African continent is that people are not willing to share their intellectual property so that you can do it yourself. And that's quite an important piece that we need to start doing now, starting with COVID, but I think it's something that the country should continuously have for other vaccines going forward.
So to be clear, this agreement that we've now signed with the US-based company Immunity Bio, does this give us now the chance to start taking part in that third option that you mentioned there, which is starting from the raw materials?
Yes, so which is why it's more of a medium-term plan. So maybe I can outline that, because that capacity does not exist. We have to build that capacity in terms of infrastructure, but also get specialized people. So it has to be built, so it will take a few years for us to have installed capacity. In the meantime, as the product gets to pass clinical trials, we will import the finished product whilst we are building capability. So it's something that is really important for the medium to long-term plans.
So, Doctor, just to be clear, this is a shot in the arm to strengthen our response to pandemics, yes, but it's a long-term program?
So it's a long-term from a local manufacturing perspective. So in the next 2.5 years, we'll be building the infrastructure in order for us to be able to respond not only to COVID, but to future pandemics. In the meantime, as the product passes clinical trials, we'll be importing the fully made vaccine. But the deal is about really building the capability which essentially would be available in about 2 to 3 years' time.
Yeah. So this is an additional, while we get that capability up and running, this is an additional solution for our vaccine rollout plan once those trials are completed.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Just your final words, Dr. Makhoana, as we, talk now about the possibilities of a third wave of infections. The Deputy President visiting Biovac's, the institutes, one, I believe it's the storage facility in the Western Cape for vaccines, talking about the problems that we've encountered with getting the vaccines to our shores. Biovac, for its part, is ready and waiting for those vaccines to arrive?
Yes, so it's the other way around. Johannesburg is our storage and warehouse, and Cape Town is our manufacturing. So the Deputy President came to our facilities 2 weeks ago in Johannesburg, and then yesterday was in Cape Town at our manufacturing facility.
Yeah.
But you're correct. So, as Department of Health is negotiating, the Johnson & Johnson is being rolled out through the phase 3B study, as we know, to healthcare workers. And we're waiting to get confirmation of when the other vaccines, whether it's J&J or Pfizer, will come through. But at the moment, that's in the hands of the Department of Health.
Yeah, all of us, I think, waiting for an update on that issues. Dr. Morena Makhoana, thanks very much for your time this morning on the AM Report. Such an interesting and important discussion. He's the Biovac Institute's CEO. And South Africa's capacity, even though this is a long-term plan, he says in the next 2 to 3 years, for self-reliance in responding to pandemics has been given a shot in the arm. We're hoping to start that process in 2 to 3 years' time, where we start manufacturing that particular vaccine from Immunity Bio from scratch right here on our shores.